gameranx presents another episode of Before You Buy, the show where we give you some straight-up gameplay and some first impressions of the latest games releasing. This time around, we're talking about the Xbox One/Windows 10 exclusive Quantum Break. There's been a lot of talk about this one. Xbox has been hyping the hell out of it and dumping money into it, but on the flip side, some people thought it just looked a little too generic. Is it just another shooter with a time travel gimmick? What is it? Well, I think the real thing we need to talk about here is that it is a game from Remedy. These are the guys that made Max Payne, Alan Wake, and now Quantum Break. Did they intend for those to rhyme? Anyway. So that was the first thing. I acknowledge that it looks generic from the look of it, but it is distinctly a Remedy game. And if you've played any of those games, you know that on the surface it looks one way, but when you dig into it, it's a little weirder and crazier and different. And I think that's what Quantum Break does very well. In terms of uniqueness, what it does here is that the game is broken into acts, and each act is segmented with an actual live-action television episode continuing and fleshing out the story of the game. This could have been an absolutely massive failure, but I gotta say, I think they pulled it off here. I'd say the quality is a little bit above like a CW show, despite that some of the special effects look kind of bad, but the performances here are great. There's some great real actors here. I think the game even warrants a playthrough, not just because of some cool memorable action moments, but also because of the fact that you make different decisions in the story that affect the outcome of the rest of the story and the episodes you watch, and little decisions you make here and there affect things. The way the game presents you with some of the big fork-in-the-road decisions is actually very surprising. I don't want to spoil how things are planned out, but it's kind of an alternative idea, and I like it. And overall, it just adds to the story, and that's what this game is. It's just a single-player narrative. Now, some people have been clamoring for games like these. Some people bitch and complain when we don't get games like these, because that's what this game is. It is a straightforward single-player game. And how is this actual game? Well, it's actually pretty good. It's not perfect by any means, but it is a decent shooter. The gameplay, like every element of it, is pretty good with a few annoying aspects of it. First and foremost, the shooting, the combat. It's pretty awesome. It's intense. You use powers to create a time shield to block bullets. You can freeze people. You can run faster than time and dash. And all these time manipulation elements really make it a really aggressive third-person shooter. I say aggressive because the cover system kind of leaves a bit to be desired. It's kind of just like an auto crouch where you don't actually attach yourself to cover. So it works, it's fine, but it's a bit lacking. But the fact that it is very loose kind of makes the game emphasize that you're always pushing forward and attacking, and you just feel like a dangerous and badass motherfucker with your time powers. It's actually pretty satisfying. It all feels very calculated. You know, you'll dodge from one bit of cover to the next with a time dash. Enemies will lose track of where you went because you manipulated time. Then you'll freeze a guy and riddle his time warp with bullets. Then you'll run through time super fast, punch another guy in the face, while the other time rift explodes and riddles that guy with bullets. In action, it is really cool and really badass, and you just feel like an incredibly powerful person. Through exploring the environment, you find little nodes that allow you to purchase upgrades to your abilities, but it's not as satisfying as it could have been. The progression here feels really half-baked. And that cover system, I gotta say, while it works the way it is and how it is simple, this game is screaming for a real action third-person stop-and-pop style cover system. There's no blind fire here, and I feel like this game could have really used it. Thankfully, the game here gets pretty difficult, and I enjoyed that, although the checkpoints really suck sometimes. The way they place them are pretty annoying, and you're going to find yourself replaying certain bits and even some cutscenes over and over again. What is nice about this game is that there is variety. It's not all running and gutting. There's all different kinds of elements here. There's just a lot of walking around and experiencing story. There's some light exploration and environmental puzzles where you have to rewind time and figure out how to get across or get to another area in the environment. And there's just a lot of story stuff where you walk around and you talk to people and you investigate items. And that is good and bad because it does, like I said, provide a lot of variety, but like I also said, is that each element has some downsides to it. With the environmental and puzzle navigations, it's cool because sometimes you have to rewind time and there's these amazing set pieces that do incredible things. But on the flip side, there's some actual platforming where you're running and jumping, and the jumping is really shitty. There's no more eloquent way to put that. The jumping and the climbing just kind of controls really poorly. And then walking around and exploring the environment and checking on things and just, you know, getting more into the story. It's good and bad, but the game gives you so many things, so many pieces of paper to read, emails to scroll through, things to click on, that where to the point where it just gets overwhelming. The upside is that all this stuff is actually pretty good and does add to the story. It doesn't feel like fluff, but there's just too much of it, especially when the game is constantly trying to move you forward while you're talking to other characters, but then you're stopping and clicking on things, and while other characters are still talking, it just kind of makes things feel a little muddled. What is cool about that, though, is that you just really just get that sense of Remedy, that little special touch they have to make everything weird and quirky and cool. There's even a lot of references from their other games that you're probably going to enjoy. Graphically, I was surprised. The game looks pretty good. Of course, there's been a lot of controversy about the resolution it runs at on Xbox One, but it looks good, and I think that's mostly due to the character faces and the general art style and environment design. Environments are detailed and colorful, which is nice. Despite that, though, there's some weird and blurry kind of artifacting when characters move sometimes. I know it's not like a time effect because you're in real time. Sometimes like the movements, they just get shot like a choppy blur behind them and it just doesn't really look right. It really takes you out of the moment. And I have to acknowledge, I did this before you buy on Xbox One and I recorded the gameplay on Xbox One, but I've heard from many sources that apparently right now the PC version is kind of a mess. Apparently the resolution's all screwed up and you can't get a stable frame rate anywhere around 30 frames per second, and there's a lot of problems there, so it might be fixed, but you need to know that going in. I have to let you know. That is my job. There is a lot of game here though, and it is all satisfying, like I said, because the variety here is really good. And with the live action episodes that are decent, that cushion your playthroughs, you're looking at about 9 to 10 hours here, give or take an hour. It's a good experience because the story is fun, it's well acted, and it's just a good time travel-y time manipulation story, which of course means that there's going to be a lot of plot holes, and honestly, I would have liked the main character to have been fleshed out a little bit more, but I still think they nailed what they were trying to do here because it was incredibly ambitious, and they pulled it off. It was just a fun experience. So that's about the gist of my playthrough with Quantum Break. I enjoyed it, it's fun, it does a lot of things really well, and it is different despite looking generic as hell. It is a very unique experience, but it has a ton of problems. Before You Buys are really just kind of recommendations, and I'm very mixed on this one, and I don't like usually giving scores for that reason, but I would say like I'd give this like an 8 out of 10. If you were asking me. Don't hold me on that, but like I have to keep emphasizing, I like this game a lot, but there are some annoying elements to it, but ultimately it's kind of fun. Go out and buy it right this second? I don't know, but do you want to play this game? Yeah, I think you should. I do want to know in the comments what you guys think of the game. It released and you've been playing it, so let's talk about it down there. What do you think of the story? Do you have problems with some of the missing issues here and there, or did you ultimately have fun like I did? And how do you feel about the live action elements? I've seen some people say that they're awful. I think they're pretty decent, but I can understand where some people are coming from. Let's talk about that all down in the comments, and on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram, you could talk to me about any video game. But you guys know the deal. If you like these Before You Buy videos, clicking the like button helps us out so much. I really appreciate it. And if this is your first time here, subscribing is a good idea because we put out videos every single day. But as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.